allow the Shiva to take the lead in doing all our actions, and because the Shiva is doing all the actions as a mental attitude, and then we accept the results outside as a grace and the blessing from the Shiva. So in both the ways, we are dropping and dissolving that doership. That takes a little bit of time. Say you wake up in the morning, so your reminder is there. So you have a cognitive ability, you are aware. Okay, I'm doing it, I'm doing this activity for the sake of the Shiva to be happy. Even I'm taking a shower for the Shiva to be happy. So you introduce the Shiva instead of your doer and the experiencer. So the doer is the Shiva, the experiencer is the Shiva. So what happens? We are minimizing the interference of the ego. That ego contains all the ignorance, impurities, and projections. It is the projection of the ego that I see you are different than me. It is a projection of the ego. We are not two. We are not two. And that is what our master of this text he moves to the next topic, that there are objections that there is not everyone is interested in studying the text, contemplating, reflecting, and meditating. Yes, today I can talk about it, the highest yoga, if we say. If I define that highest yoga, that is also explained in the Gita and the Upanishad. The highest yoga is systematic, organized, step-by-step study of the text with sincerity and commitment is the highest form of yoga. It has three steps: Shravan, Manan, and Nididhyasana. Listening and learning, and contemplation and reflection, followed by Nididhyasana is a practice. Highest form. But highest form of yoga, if this is, then I have also to be highest seeker. If I am not the highest seeker, then it will not work. So then how to become the highest level of a seeker? By the karma yoga, by the bhakti yoga, by the mantra, by the japa, by hatha yoga, kundalini, and all those practices. So what happens in the very beginning when you start with the hatha yoga? Okay, the hatha yoga also says that it results into awakening, and also bring an end to the suffering. So every yoga has the same goal. Now the problem is that you are doing 20 postures, you are doing 5 breathing, you are doing 5 mantras, and the mind keeps the doubt. How can doing the headstand pose help me results into awakening? So what one master used to say, and I agree with him, that very traditional wisdom is lost. Those teachers are lost who are well versed with the entire knowledge in the spectrum, that okay, you are doing this asana, you are doing a penance, yajna, tapa, dana. So that is one form of the tapa by which you purify the mind, and then we will guide you the next step. Nobody teaches in Hatha Yoga that we will guide you the next step. So then there is a problem. Then there is always a doubt. Then lot of people, what happens? Lot of people, they continue to live in the same ignorance. They say, okay, now I'm doing 20 poses. Now let me do 50 poses. let me do 100. That is the advanced yoga, and they are already living in the hallucination and imagination. So this master raises the question that why people are not interested in this in my text. It is because we do not guide them properly. We do not teach them properly. We do not say that all the practices, active steps of active practices, have to do with the purification of the mind, removing the projections, making you calm and relaxed. But then the real journey starts. When you are calm and relaxed, you are naturally focused. Then you can pay attention to the principles, and then you can march further. Nobody teaches that. Nobody. Or those who are the monks in the Himalayas, or the rare teachers, they don't want any kind of marketing and promotion. So we are caught in those people who do not teach us according to the teachings of the Eastern wisdom. So this master says the goal of the Vichar Sagar, or this text, is the end of the suffering and awakening. It offers the knowledge, practices to reach to the goal, final destination. But it demands that I have to be a highest level of a seeker, and then it also explains that how to become the highest level of a seeker. We should not deviate from Shravan, Manan and Nididhyasana. Again, I am repeating, systematic, organized study, step by step, with regularity and a commitment, results into awakening. And what are the 3 steps? Shravan, Manan and Nididhyasana. So the master instantly says that not everyone, non-seeker, raises the objection, not everyone is interested in your text. So the master answers, if you are not studying this text, then you have to study Upanishads, you have to study the Sanskrit grammar, you have to study, there is a science of logic in our tradition. Tarka Shastra, it is known as the Nyaya system of philosophy. So first you have to understand the Nyaya system. So it means you should have at least 10 different teachers of different streams before you reach to this step of Shravan, Manan and Nididhyasana. And I have included everything into the Vichar Sagar. You need not to go to the 10 teachers. That is he rules out this first objection. He says the way I have presented the summary of the entire teaching of the Eastern wisdom, you need not to study the Sanskrit grammar because they are very complex. To study Sanskrit, it will take a couple of years. You study the Nyaya philosophy, it takes about 2 to 3 years. Then you have to go to another master who teaches a particular Upanishad, and then you have to bring them together. It will take you maybe 20 or 25 years, the moment you start it. So the master says, I have summarized everything in a simple way. And that is why I have not written this text in Sanskrit language. I have written this text in a common man's language. He has written this text in Hindi which is commonly spoken. He also says that in Upanishads we have a very complex metaphors. I did not talk about those complex metaphors and similes because we cannot understand this. So Vichar Sagar, we find very common and easy metaphors to understand it easily, so that our mind can contemplate and reflect on that. So again, another answer he gives. Now, why not many people are interested in Vichar Sagar? I'm just looking at the text. So he uses the word, it is because the particular people belong to the category of Palmer. I'm just using his language and then I'll explain to it. The Palmer. Purusha means a human being, definition of Palmer. So people engrossed in the sensory pleasure will not be receptive. Why we say that you have to get out of the attachment? Because if the mind is constantly attached, it has a strong likes and dislikes, then the mind cannot really pick up these principles. Only that is the reason we need to get rid of this attachment and detachment, likes and dislikes. It has nothing to do with moral and ethical codes. We say at least your mind should be in a state where it can be taught, the principles can be introduced. So what do you mean? Once I reach to the state of awakening, I can go back to the attachment and detachment. You will never go back, because you already reached to the permanent state of the happiness. How can your mind go back to the temporary pleasure? So the master says, in the beginning you have to do you have to practice, you have to reach to the state. Yes. So now he is still answering. He says yes. He says that to say, for example, you want to study the Gita. To study the Gita, I have to become a qualified seeker. So instead of studying the Gita, you have to study many other texts to become a seeker, and then you can study Gita. Otherwise, simply reading the Gita will not work. Because you don't know what is Viveka, what is Vairagya, and I have covered all those steps. Master says I have covered all those steps in the text. So that is why this text can give you the entire journey in the form of topics to reach to the highest state of consciousness. So he says the Vichar Sagar, this text is suited to give you the knowledge to the modern seekers. This text was written about 200 years ago. You can directly understand this knowledge. Another question that then we will go to the main topic, but it is important. So another non-seeker says, I have already studied Viveka and Vairagya, and then only I can understand this entire principles of Eastern wisdom. So how can you say that without inadequate, or you can say that those people who have not undergone through the Viveka and Vairagya or Sadhan Chatushtaya or fourfold practices, how you say that Vichar Sagar can help the seekers to treat this path? So the master says, I agree with you. But what I have done in the first 50 topics, you are totally an ignorant person about the Eastern wisdom. I have started those topics which will help you to understand Viveka and Vairagya also. So you need not to worry. You just focus on this text. So what happens? We have already discussed that Nitya Karma, I have to do it to purify the mind. I have to do the mantra in order to focus the mind, and then I have to come down to, and that we have already started doing, and we are already doing it simultaneously. So the master resolves, also dissolves this objection. Okay, now if I come to what is the role of the Vichar Sagar in the spiritual journey. So he says, he is very clear about it, that you have done lot of practices, you are frustrated, you have done even the karma yoga, and you have feel the purity of the mind, you have done the mantra that we have already started doing. Now at that stage of the life of a seeker, now you need a Vichar Sagar. It gives you the wisdom how to reach to that state of awakening and realize the real self. It gives you the clear knowledge by different topics. Yes, that is one. We are just going on. I have covered that. That is the same thing, that a traditional students, there is an ashram monastery in the Himalayas, which is very famous for the last almost 150 years. I went there, they refused me to enter into the class. It was the class of Upanishads. They said you are not allowed because you are not eligible. Why you are not eligible? Because you have to first study the Sanskrit, then you have to study the logic. So how long it will take? It will take 3 years, and then you are allowed to enter into this class of the Upanishad. In one way they are right in that sense, because Upanishads have an exhaustive and very complex study. But if my mind is not prepared, then I cannot have a clear understanding of the Upanishads. It's a very famous monastery. So what happened? No, they also say that we will initiate you into the monkhood. You will become a sannyasi. We will provide you everything, food and everything, but first you have to go to that class before you come to this class. You have to spend 3 years there. They are ready. They are ready for everything. Are you ready? So they simply ask, are you ready? Then we will put you into the grammar class. You study the grammar, you study that how these texts were written, you understand the logic, so you can put the right reasoning to clear your mind, you can have an intellectual understanding, and then you know that those practices are there. So that tradition is still intact in some part of India. But then many masters, like my masters and many other masters, say that yes, you can also approach in a different way. You need not to go for a grammar, you need not to study the logic. We will cover that logic and the understanding of each word of this journey while you are treading the path. We will make you a seeker. Your commitment is required. Okay, then next step, yes. So this master further argues and says that Vichar Sagar, the different topics, provides you the clear knowledge of the real self, so that you can easily get inspired, motivated to become a seeker. And you start changing your behavior and attitude, you start doing the karma and also the mantra. So that is what we have introduced. Yes, that is the topic number 50. We can also say that what happens as we continue and cover all these topics, many wrong understanding about the journey of the Eastern wisdom are removed. We have a very vague understanding of kundalini meditation, the karma yoga, the fourfold practices. That has already become clear in the last 49 topics. So he said that I am making everything very clear based on the teachings of the Upanishad, based on the teachings of the masters. So now the master in the 51st topic, he says, seekers need qualifications beyond curiosity. Simply do not read the books. You are curious, that does not work. It needs certain qualifications to pass through. So now he is coming to those qualifications. So there he analyzes, he says you have to check. There are 4 types of people. So he categorized all the entire human race into 4 different temperaments. And it has some reflection of the Gita also. But that we will take the understanding of the Gita at the later stage. We will focus here on this master. So first he says the mere intellectual curiosity, intellectual understanding is not enough. Why? Every human being, I would say normal human being, why you opted for engineering, why someone opted for medical. So average human being can easily understand any knowledge that is given to him, and if he is sincere and committed, I can be engineer, you can be a doctor. It is possible. But that is only an intellectual understanding. That is not going to change my behavior and attitude. That knowledge must be realized into my mind. This is the point he is making. Who does not know that drinking is bad? So what I do? So this master, he sees how cleverly he says this. So drinking is bad. So I'm drinking vodka every day, and now my liver is damaged. So I go to the God and I complain to the God, why don't you give me the 2 more livers to sustain that vodka? So that is a wrong understanding. That is what happens in our life. That is why we divorce. That is why we fight. That is why we struggle. This month I did not earn the money I expected. So the master is saying, tell me 5 incidents where you earned what was not even unexpected from you. That was the grace of the God. You did not expect to earn that much, but you got more. You got more love. You got more care. You never expected that. So the master is making us aware that remember what you are expecting. It is you are going away from the nitya karma. You have to expect, you work hard, do the nitya karma as much as possible. Devote yourself. But whatever the result comes, you accept as a blessing of the God. Don't interfere in that. Don't ask 2 more livers. Don't ask 2 more pancreas from the God. That is what we do. I'm just making a fun of those people who are not seekers. They have this demand. Their demand is unending. Why their demand is unending? Because I'm suffering from that impurity of the mind. My mind is full of those desires. So I have to give a stop. I have to give a break. Why I have to give a break? The mind should be calmed down. Then only I can grasp this knowledge. Then only the knowledge in the intellect can drop down into the mind and can change my behavior and attitude. I was talking about that guy who divorced. He returned again. He has been doing so deeply for the last almost 4 months. He's committed. He still have a lot of challenges. Yesterday he was saying that I don't have challenges. Now I understand these challenges means I have to endure these challenges to rise in my awareness. What happened that he suffered from the fever for 3 days. And every time he did meditation for an hour and he stretched it for 3 hours. Fever is gone. He was explaining me a story. I said, now, definitely, now I know that you are not going to leave this journey until you reach to that state. So now his relationship with the second partner is also changed. So that kind of a change in the mental state indicates that my intellectual knowledge is going down. So we said 4 types of seekers. So he simply said, there are 4 types of seekers. 4 types of seekers are there. We will talk about that. So he said we need to analyze the 4 types of the seekers. And once we analyze, we have to absorb that, we have to understand that 4 types of the seekers, who we are. First type of the seeker is ignorant. Second is worldly. Third is liberated. Or you can say the third is seekers and fourth is liberated. You can categorize them. So first is the ignorant. Ignorant means their focus is only on the world outside. We don't spare the time to sit and contemplate, now let the world go to hell. Let me sit with myself. Then otherwise we cannot have this journey. It does not mean that I do not do my work. I do my personal activities, professional activities, social. I'm doing it as it is. But I have changed the quality. What is that quality? The Nitya Karma inside. Om Namah Shivaya inside. So this Shiva is doing this activity. The second category are worldly people. Eat, drink, and be merry. They cannot recognize if the happiness is inside. They do not want to believe it. You cannot teach them. They are not teachable. The third level are the seekers, and the fourth is who are already free and awakened. They don't need any kind of a knowledge. So he divided them into 4 categories. So there are many monks who are sitting in the Himalayas. They have reached to that state. They don't need any kind of a knowledge. And the first and the second, they are very hard to return to this journey of the Eastern wisdom. So he categorized. Now I am bringing that word palmer. So in the topic number 52, he says that entire humanity, when it is divided, the first category is the palmer. Second is the Vishayi. Now I am translating that into, first I am using the Sanskrit and then I will make it very simple. Palmer, Vishayi, Jigyasu is the third category, and fourth is the Mukta. So Mukta means they are already awakened, they are already reached to that state, so they don't need any kind of a training or the study. So he says this text is relevant for the first 3 categories of the people. Either you are palmer, you are totally engrossed, ignorant, or you are worldly because your motive is the object in the world. That object is either a person or a money or a pleasure or a sex or vodka or anything else. Your mind is overpowered by the craziness to secure these objects, because you feel only this can help me achieve security, peace, happiness, love, and wisdom. These are the first two categories. One is totally involved, you are totally ignorant, you don't know if there is a real self. You know, my ego is the real self. This is what I experience. But they don't even want to recognize in deep sleep where your ego goes. When you are calm and relaxed and loving, their ego is at the minimum. Where your ego is gone. With ego you cannot love. Look at it, Palmer. So he categorized them into a Palmer category. But then he also says, I am not writing the text only for the first two categories. I have written this text only for the third category. Who puts the right logic, who understands, who have a clear understanding that I am suffering and I can bring an end to the suffering because of the intellect that I have. I can choose the right option and I can go for it. Fourth category, they are already awakened. First two categories, he says, you leave them. So I have written this text for the third category. That was the 52 topic. Now come to the characteristics of the third category, that is the seeker. So why I started the text, now you will be clear. So he says that this third category, that seeker already does nitya karma, already follows the dharma. Dharma means nitya karma. He never misses the nitya karma on a single day. He contemplates and reflects every day. And even he has done the mistake because of the ego. Every day he contemplates and reflects, that the next day he commits that he is not going to follow the egoistic way of doing the action. He starts following the nitya karma. He remembers himself. He realizes his mistake. He realizes the wrong notion. I have done this, so let me change it. So it means it is a constant journey we are undertaking as long as we are awake. For example, what is my nitya karma? So Shiva, pass on this knowledge to this guy. It is your responsibility. And the result also belongs to you. So I am also doing nitya karma here while talking to you. Why not? So I have that intention, I have that awareness. Every teacher has that awareness. That is why they are not upset with their students, even if they fail or they react. Last year this lady said, do you think that I'm not a seeker? I've been attending your session for the last 6 months. I said, who told you? I never said that you are not a seeker. You are a great seeker. And it has been 2 years now, she left. So it proves that you are not a seeker. You left because of your anger and hesitation. So you belong to the first two categories. You don't belong to the third category. You should argue rightly. Tell me the characteristics of the seeker, and so that I check, am I a seeker or not? If I am not, I will follow it. Or you simply challenge the people. So we take it easily. Why you are challenging me? I am passing on the knowledge. The Shiva is passing on the knowledge. I am not passing on. So we are happy with both the cases. We are happy in both the ways. So that is very important. So because that upsurge, that reaction, that hesitation proves that you are living unconsciously and habitually, you are not ready to change. By the ego, you want to be a seeker. You cannot become a seeker. And what happened? That happened in a group, and everyone realized that this girl is crazy. Even I need not to say, and they forget completely. And now she is shy of rejoining. What will happen to my ego? But if I don't shy of joining, I am really a seeker. I crush my ego. How can I crush my ego? So I belong to the two categories. First two categories, I am not a seeker. So seeker recognizes the mistakes and the wrong notions committed. Where is the problem to say sorry to your honey? If something happens, say so. Even sometimes you say sorry because you have not done any mistake. To keep the cool in your home. Where is the problem? Otherwise, the ego will constantly judge whether I have not done anything wrong. I have done something wrong. So I have done something wrong, I will protect myself. I have not done something wrong, why should I say sorry? Oh, you want to see that, the atmosphere will become calm and good. No, I'm sorry. I have done all the mistakes. Leave it, come on. Change it. I'm ready for the Nitya Karma. What happens, I know I'm very much aware and alert about my calmness. I don't want to disturb that calmness and relaxation in the voice in my personal, professional, and social life. Not at all. Not at any cost. So that aptitude, that attitude comes in the life of a seeker. There are a lot of stories in the Upanishad that I will talk later. Lot of stories are there. A student approaches the master and he says, no, I want awakening of the real self. The master says, go to the forest and collect the woods for cooking the food. He never questions. He went to the forest, now you cook the food. And that continues for about a year. So in that 1 year, he drops his ego. He forgets his ego. He says, no, this is what I have to do. So the master realizes that now his mind is pure. Come on, now I will teach you. You are ready now. So there are many, shouldn't use the tips and tricks, but many tips and tricks were used in the Upanishads. So again, because master recognized that he has a curiosity, he is eligible to become a seeker, let me check. So my master was a traditional master. He used to examine like this all the time. Oh, you are an officer, you're working in the government. Okay. So my ego was inflated, and then he said, we have iron rods that is put into that is used in building the home, iron bars. So in that Himalayas, there is 2 kilometers away, and he said, iron rods are there, someone has to bring it. So he was challenging. So I recognized that, oh, this is what no, I will bring it. So I brought on my shoulder, and then he said, no, you are an officer, how can you bring those bars? So again, he is trying to inflate the ego. So you have to remain very alert in that journey. That is the traditional way of working. So he says that we have to follow this. First is the karma yoga. You do the karma, whatever the karma is done. I'm doing it for the teacher, I'm doing it for the God. The God is doing and God is getting the result. So there we introduce the God. And that is what you have started doing. That's really good. No, yeah, Shiva. I'm going for a business. Shiva, I'm going for you to do this business. I will do my best and accept the result, whatever comes from you. You change your orientation of the mind. You attack your ego. You attack the doer. That is another level of the Nitya Karma. And then you are already doing meditation. So we'll introduce that meditation on the personal God. We have to come down to that. That is why I introduced that. So then we come down to the topic 54. Topic 54 says that let us analyze all the 4 types of a seeker. Group 4, the 4th type of a person, you don't need any study. You are already there. You are already liberated. You are already awakened. You have realized it. And the group number 1 and 2, they are already preoccupied. They are always busy. I was talking in the morning. That you are busy in accumulating stress for the entire week, and only 1 hour you have a chance to live into that peace and happiness. And you don't recognize that you need to contemplate and reflect and do the practice every day. Then you don't recognize. What is your excuse? I'm busy. Why you are busy? You are busy for the stress and suffering. That is my explanation of the group number 1 and 2. They are already preoccupied. They are busy, actually busy. I said, what you are going to do with actually busy? One lady who has 2 children, 2 sons, 20 years and 18 years. Now I'm thinking of remarrying. She divorced with the first one. So I want to be busy. How can I tell her? If I say, no, this is bad, but you are not a seeker. You belong to the first 2 categories, so I cannot teach you. She recently joined the group session, so I cannot teach her. I cannot say directly. So I simply recognize, okay, she still wants the same kind of pleasures, to get married, to tell the society that now I am this, and who knows, you'll have a problem. No 2 individuals are alike. Not 2 individuals have the 100% same interest, same choices, same temperament. So there is already a conflict. So if you are a seeker, can you absorb those conflicts? Can you endure it? By doing karma yoga. So you are not ready. So go for the marriage. How many times you go for 10, 15 marriages once, and then the life passes away. You are done with your life. So what you have achieved in your life, you are born, crying, feeling the same insecurity. You started playing with the toys, the parents pushed you, make you cry. Adolescence, your emotional changes makes you cry. You are an adult, you built your ego, you started doing something which you don't want to do, you're still crying, and ultimately at the old age you are still crying and dying. That belongs to the group 2 groups of the 2 categories of the people. Their only goal is to cry. But outside they see that, look at me, how much I have achieved, and still I am in stress. They don't think. Non-thinking. They don't want to think, they don't think. So this master says, no, I'm not talking about those two groups of people. Forget about them. I'm not talking about the fourth group of people. I'm only talking about if you are a seeker or not. Topic number 54. I'm taking it in a lighter way. Group 3 are seekers. So he also warns that you need not to start, if you are a seeker, you learn from the teacher, you need not to start teaching others, but you need to bring about a change in your behavior and attitude. Let others, people who are living nearby you, reflect on your behavior, your attitude, and that will change them. That will change them. So he says that, I'm bringing a further mental maturity in the third group of the seekers. And for the third group of the seekers who have an average intellect, who can really understand what is viveka, even by talking about these principles and not talking about viveka, and still they enter into the viveka. What is right and good for you? For example, is getting upset over the honey or maintaining the calm and checking how I should respond, not to get upset, and still I respond in a way so that she may change. But I do not change. Why I do not change? Because I am not upset with whatever you do, whatever is happening around the world. Are you getting it? Whatever is happening around the world? You are doing meditation and your honey makes a big noise. Oh, can I practice meditation in the presence of that noise? Let me see. And you succeed in it. Then honey says, he is not going to change. That is penance. So he's talking about the simple logic. He says, no, find out how you can endure. Your mind do not dictate over you. You dictate over the mind silently. In the beginning, maybe that you cannot hold your anger, so don't act physically. Go to your room and stay there until, and then check it, contemplate and reflect. Do the practice of meditation, do breathing, do any damn thing, but kill this anger. Physical level, mental level, emotional level. And then come out, then you can shout, just do an acting to get the things done. It is okay. He says, no, you have to become a seeker. That is why I am guiding you. It is good to understand from the reference of the Gita. Gita also talks about 4 types of seekers. So the first type of the seekers, he says, motivated by the stress. Now, it is the same thing but in a different way. But that needs to be understood. We have to check our attitude and behavior in our life also. Sometimes we get too much of stress. Why I get a stress? Because I want $1 million and I have only $1,000. So I am in extreme stress because I don't have that much which I expected. And I want, anyhow I want to earn that. So some religious guy comes and tells you that, okay, go to that temple, offer this much of prayer and it will be done. I'm ready to do that. I'm ready to meditate. I'm ready to use the mantra for the sake of getting $1 million. That is the first type of the seeker. So outer people, you may see the people outside, oh, he is a great devotee. He is a very religious guy. He always goes to the church and temple. He offers the prayer. But what is his intention? We don't know. So that is the first type of the seeker. The Krishna talks about it. Second is the worldly. I have everything, but I want little more. So why I want little more? Because my mind is totally absorbed in the objects of. For what? Objects give me the pleasure. So you see, it's a understanding is different, but the category almost is the same. So you see, in the first two category, the desire is something different. In the third category, I desire to know the real self. So I have already resolved that objection. Pay attention to this. Be 100% clear. Desire to get the wealth puts my mind outside. I have to make an effort. It is not yet with me, and still I want to achieve that. I don't have a house, so I build the house and I buy the house and I move there into the house. So desire something outside in the world is different than the desire to know the real self. I discuss about that. Desire to know the real self, I have to start contemplating and reflecting. I need not to put anything into action. Real self does not lie in your country, in your house, so that I have to travel to you. I have to simply contemplate and reflect. So in both the cases, I am using the desire, but that desire to know the real self helps me to contemplate and reflect within me. And desire to get the wealth, desire to have the car, desire to marry, they puts my mind outside. So that is the difference. And that is not a small difference, that's a big difference. Desire to know the real self, so let me close my eyes and let me start inquiring. But suddenly the mind has different motivations regarding the objects, and mind says, no, how can you sit for such a longer period? Why don't you check your phone? You already have a budget. Finished. You are done. So what happens, now you are raising your awareness, so you recognize. How many times I check my phone? Oh, maybe 50 times. It's not required. You raise your awareness. You are a seeker. You are a seeker. So second category and the third category. You can jump into the third category. When you are aware that your goal is to desire to know the real self. How? Desire to know the real self by doing the business, living your personal life, professional life, social, doing everything outside. Unless we assimilate our mind and understand that we can realize the real self in any situation, in any profession, in any condition, time comes in the life of a seeker who is not dictated by the pressure and the stress of the world outside. Because everything is acclimatized and adjusted. And then you can say Om Namah Shivaya all the time, 24/7. See that? That is the third type of the seeker. Fourth is he already said, who are the knowledge, who have already awakened. Who are already awakened, so they can So he explains, in Gita, look at couple of points. Doing your Nitya and the Naimitya karma. Reminder for a seeker. So the seeker knows it, Nitya and Naimitya karma, what it demands, the right attitude in the mind. And doing the same, Master is not saying what action you need to do. Master is teaching us how we have to perform any action. What attitude should be there? There is a good story in the Upanishad, and such a beautiful story. There was a monk who attained some supernatural powers, by the mantra he can kill anybody. So he was sitting under a tree, and the bird was sitting on the tree. So the bird felt an urge, so he passed out, and that matter fell on the head of the monk. Monk saw it. What is the difference between a real seeker and a seeker who goes after the powers? That is the story the Upanishad talks about. The monk looked at the bird and he chanted the mantra and he burnt the bird. Very good. Now in the evening the monk has to go for a begging. That is, I discussed all about it. The moment you are initiated in a monk, you have a right to beg the food. So he knocked the door. Lady opened the door. And she told the monk, wait, I'm taking care of my husband who is very sick. Once I take care of my husband, I will bring the food for you. Half an hour passed. The monk knocked the door again. And the lady spoke loudly that I'm taking care of my husband. 2 hours passed. He knocked the door again. Monk. Women came out. And she told the monk, pay attention. It's such a good story. I love it. I'm not a bird whom you burnt. I told you to wait. Be patient. You are a monk. And the monk was surprised. How this lady knows? She was a great master. She was a great master. And the monk fell on the feet of this lady and said, who is your master? Now see, you will get another surprise. And then you recognize that how deeper the wisdom is and how you should be performing the nitya karma. So the lady offered the food, and then the monk said, no, you tell me who is your teacher. So lady gave the address. So monk went into a street where there are hundreds of shops. Oh, her master lives here? Such a great master whose student can tell me what I did? So he found a shop, a meat shop. And the guy was cutting the fleshes into pieces, selling the meat. Fact was that he was the master. He was the master. The monk said, who is this guy? I'm this guy. Monk got a shock. What the heck he is doing? I have been very pure. I have been veggie. It doesn't work. At the highest level. Only at the lower level we will definitely say you do this, don't eat this. But when you are really a committed seeker, no rules binds you. But it doesn't mean that you deliberately do it. Deliberately doing it is ego. Then you forget the nitya karma. Look at it. So Upanishad gives you those amazing stories. But in the very beginning it tells you do this, be wise, have non-violence, and etc., etc. It's a long list. Why? Because your mind is not ready. You don't know what is violence and what is not violence. You don't have any discernment. So we have to guide you so that you can understand the impurity of the mind. At that level, everything, whatever is happening in the world, you need not to correct them. You need not to evolve. You need to evolve yourself. And later on, the Upanishads say the monk became his student, and then he left all these powers and he reached to that state. That is the journey of Eastern wisdom. So this is what this master is pointing out. I think, coaching. Yes, we have covered 54. Yes, 54. So we have covered 50 to 54 topics. These topics we can go easily. You have already done a lot of practices, so you understand that. And then we will, from 55 we will take up in our next session. Thank you.